My sister Helen came over the other day, while the kitchen was still a mess from the flooring upgrade Mark insisted on tackling. I didn't even realize he was still there, tucked away under the sink cabinet, I suppose. Have you told him you're moving out next month? Helen asked, her voice low, even though we thought we were alone. I remember letting out this breath I felt like I'd been holding for weeks, maybe a bit of a nervous laugh escaping too. No way, I told her, the words feeling heavy but necessary. I need to make sure this promotion is solid first, then figure out the accounts. We started talking logistics, the timing of it all. It felt like walking a tightrope. Little did I know he was right there, taking it all in. Apparently, he just kept working, finished the whole renovation without a word about what he'd overheard. It wasn't until 5 days later that the weight of that conversation, the reality of those words spoken aloud, truly hit me with regret. It feels surreal, thinking back. Mark and we've built a life together over these past 7 years. Buying this house 3 years ago felt like such a huge step, our own little place. It wasn't perfect, kind of stuck in time decor-wise, but it was ours. He's always been handy, being in the renovation trade, and he's poured so much energy into fixing it up, one room after another. I used to think our marriage was like this house, a good solid structure underneath, maybe needing some updates here and there, but fundamentally sound. Lately, though, I haven't been so sure. It feels like more than just cosmetic fixes are needed. The foundations feel shaky to me now, though I doubt he sees it that way. I'd been mentioning the kitchen for a while, hoping we could get it sorted before summer arrived. Maybe part of me thought fixing that space would somehow fix us, or at least make things feel a little brighter. He must have noticed I've been different. Working later, yes. Partly because this promotion is huge for me, but also because home didn't feel like the sanctuary it used to. I found myself needing space, taking calls with Helen or my mom in the bedroom, glued to my phone trying to figure out my own head. I know how it must look, and I suppose I let him think it was all just work stress. It seemed easier than confronting the deeper issues. Seeing him throw himself into the kitchen renovation, thinking it was the key to making me happy, just twisted the knot in my stomach tighter. It felt like proof of how little we were connecting, how different our views of our future had become. So, that Saturday, he got started, ripping out that awful old vinyl that's probably been there since the house was built. I remember picking out the new flooring with him, those planks that mimic hardwood. I tried to muster enthusiasm, talking about how the color we chose would look with the backsplash tiles we'd agreed on months ago. It felt like going through the motions. While he was dealing with the demolition, and then getting under the sink to sort out the plumbing for the new setup, I went out. Brunch with Helen felt necessary. I needed to talk, really talk, to someone who understood. When we got back to the house later, laughing about something silly, the place was quiet. I assumed he'd finished up for the day or stepped out. I didn't hear anything, didn't think to check under the sink of all places. We walked into the half-finished kitchen, the new flooring stacked against the wall, and I just felt this wave of exhaustion and confusion. Helen, bless her directness, didn't waste time. As soon as we were inside, she asked me straight out, "Have you told him you're moving out next month?" The question hung in the air, thick with everything I hadn't been saying. That tense little laugh escaped me before I could stop it. "No way," I repeated, laying out the plan I'd been carefully constructing in my head. "I need this promotion secure. It's my path forward. Then I have to sort out the finances, the accounts." We dove into the details, the necessary steps. It felt clinical, talking about dividing a life like that, but also like the only way I could see to move forward, to find my own footing again. I listened, hidden away, as her voice hit a register I'd never encountered before. Sharp, calculating, utterly cold. "First, I need to make sure the promotion is finalized," she was saying. "And then, I can take half the accounts." It was the careful precision that stunned me. The timing has to be absolutely perfect. If I jump ship before it's official, I could lose the promotion altogether. But once it's confirmed, that's an easy 20,000 more a year in my pocket. I heard Helen ask if she wasn't worried I might catch on. Catherine just laughed, a sound devoid of any real humor. She said I was probably too wrapped up in fixing that leaky faucet or some other little project around the house to notice what was really happening. She actually called me predictable, confidently stating I'd be devastated but wouldn't put up a real fight. It felt like a physical blow, hearing her dismiss me, dismiss us, so easily. Then they started mapping out the practicalities, their voices low but clear. I learned Catherine already had another apartment secured, that she'd been gradually siphoning off her personal belongings, little things I probably hadn't even registered were missing, storing them at Helen's. And the separate bank account, one I had absolutely no idea existed. 7 years we'd built a life together, or so I thought. And here she was, discussing me as if I were some oblivious inconvenience she'd merely put up with. A knot of fury tightened in my stomach, hot and unfamiliar. My hand clenched around the metal pipe under the sink, my knuckles turning white against the cool surface, but I forced myself to remain perfectly still, silent. Some deep-seated survival instinct urged me to stay hidden, to absorb every single detail. They drifted into the living room then, their voices becoming slightly fainter, though I could still make out most of it. Catherine was expressing concern about our joint finances, strategizing how to extract the maximum amount before I knew what was happening. I heard Helen casually suggest Catherine talk to a mutual friend, someone who had apparently taken her ex to the cleaners during her own divorce settlement. They discussed the timeline with the detached precision of planning a corporate takeover, not dismantling a life. Catherine insisted on waiting until after her parents' anniversary party the following month, apparently not wanting to cast a shadow over their celebration. The sheer, chilling consideration of it made my stomach churn. I stayed cramped under that sink for what stretched like an eternity but was likely only 20 minutes or so, until I finally heard the front door click shut behind them as they left to continue their shopping. Slowly, painfully, I eased myself out. The feeling wasn't just emptiness. It was like something vital had been crudely scooped out from my chest, leaving jagged edges. And the truly sickening part? We had been actively talking about starting a family. I'd been meticulously putting money aside for the fertility treatments we knew we'd need because of her PCOS. $15,000 sat waiting in an account, funds carefully earmarked for the children she apparently never intended for us to have together. That knowledge felt like the ultimate betrayal, twisting something hopeful and sacred into a cruel joke. I found myself wandering aimlessly through the kitchen, the room itself half-finished from the renovations I'd been working on, my mind a chaotic whirl of disbelief and hurt. My immediate urge was visceral: pack a bag, be gone before she returned, or unleash every ounce of pain and anger the moment she walked back in. But something held me back. The more her smug assertion echoed in my head, that I was too predictable, that I'd just accept defeat, the more a different feeling began to solidify beneath the shock. A steely resolve I didn't know I possessed. She thought she knew exactly how I'd react. I'd show her otherwise. So, I made myself do the most difficult thing I could imagine in that moment. I smoothed down my clothes, took a deep breath, and went back to sanding the cabinet doors, as if nothing had happened. Every bit of fury I felt went straight into laying down that new floor. My hands worked with a kind of focused energy, a rhythm that felt like the only thing keeping my mind from completely shattering. By the time Catherine walked through the door around 6 that evening, I'd managed to get nearly half the new flooring installed. I saw the smile spread across her face as she took in the progress, the bright, cheerful sound of her voice commenting on how good it looked, feeling jarring against the turmoil inside me. She suggested takeout, given the state of the kitchen, and I managed a nod and a tight smile, agreeing. The whole evening felt like moving through thick fog. We ate Chinese takeout on the sofa, trying to follow some show on Netflix that barely registered in my consciousness. Her presence beside me, leaning in close as if nothing had changed, was almost unbearable. Later, when she initiated intimacy, I felt completely detached. Was this just another part of the act? I couldn't be sure. I let it happen, my body present, but my mind miles away, caught in a loop of disbelief and a cold, simmering anger. Each touch felt alien, each feigned moment of connection a deeper betrayal, scraping against raw nerves. Still, I played the part I thought I needed to play for now. I murmured the expected words before we turned off the lights. But inside, a promise was forming. She wouldn't get away with this. The words I'd overheard earlier echoed, fueling a quiet determination. Sleep was impossible. As soon as Catherine's breathing evened out into a steady rhythm, I carefully slid out from under the covers. Time for my own reconnaissance mission, I thought grimly. Her phone was locked tight, of course, but I remembered the password for her laptop. Nothing jumped out in the emails I could access easily. But then I logged into our joint bank accounts. That's where I saw it. Small, regular transfers, $200 here, $300 there, moving to her personal account over the last few months. Amounts just small enough to fly under the radar individually, but adding up to thousands. More than just her usual pocket money allocation, my hands were shaking slightly as I used my phone to photograph every transaction screen. Evidence. I needed proof. By 3 in the morning, the chill air on the back porch did little to cool the heat rising inside me. I pulled out my phone and texted my friend Anthony. Need to talk urgently. Situation critical at home. Not kidding. He replied almost instantly, bless him, despite the hour. Lunch tomorrow. Our usual place. Before the sun was fully up the next morning, I was already back on the floor, fitting the next plank into place. Pretending everything was fine felt like the most demanding performance of my life, far more taxing than any physical labor I'd ever undertaken. Every movement felt rehearsed, every casual word carefully measured. She gave me a quick kiss goodbye as she headed out, mentioning how much she appreciated me tackling this renovation, how dedicated I was. The words felt hollow, almost mocking. The moment I heard her car disappear down the street, the facade crumbled. I leaned heavily against the newly installed kitchen cabinets, tremors running through me, a toxic mix of fury and the sickening weight of betrayal. But I wouldn't just fall apart. She might think she could just cast me aside, but she underestimated me. Oh yes, this renovation would continue. I'd make this kitchen exactly what she envisioned. Flawless, stunning, her perfect dream space. And while my hands built her dream, my mind would be constructing something else entirely. A careful, methodical plan to ensure she understood the depth of what she'd done, the consequences of treating me like something disposable. By the end of the weekend, most of the new flooring was down. The sheer physical exertion was strangely grounding, helping me channel the initial shock and hurt into something productive. Each plank clicked into place, each tap of the mallet felt like reinforcing my own backbone, solidifying the decision I was slowly, painfully making. Every carefully folded piece of laundry, every meticulously planned meal, felt like a deliberate move in the strategy that was starting to form in my head. David was all charm and easy affection lately. Even brought me tea while I was trying to sort through our shared bills, talking about how much he was looking forward to our planned anniversary trip. But something felt off. A hollowness behind his smile, a distance in his eyes that hadn't been there before. Monday was when the ground truly shifted beneath my feet. Meeting Sarah for lunch was the lifeline I desperately needed. We found a quiet corner in our favorite cafe, and the moment the words tumbled out, the late nights, the vague excuses, the coldness I felt creeping in, her expression morphed from concern to protective fury on my behalf. You have to be smarter than him. Play this carefully, she urged, leaning closer, her hand covering mine. He thinks he has you figured out, thinks you'll just fall apart. You need to show him just how wrong he is. Over salads we barely touched, the noise of the cafe fading into the background, we mapped it out. Untangle our finances immediately, screenshot every suspicious message and call log I could find, get legal advice before he even suspected I knew anything was truly wrong. Sarah's sister had navigated a brutal separation just last year. Sarah knew all the potential pitfalls and emotional traps. Don't tip him off, she stressed, her eyes serious and unwavering. Get your ducks in a row first. Gather everything. The shock factor, when you finally make your move, is your biggest weapon right now. I returned home that afternoon with a newfound, albeit heavy, sense of purpose. The house felt too quiet, too large, echoing with unspoken tensions. David texted around 6, stuck late at the office, grabbing dinner with the team. Sure. The familiar excuse, once just annoying, now landed like a physical blow, clenching my stomach. But tonight, his absence also gave me an opening, a window of time I couldn't afford to waste. I used the unsettling silence to make the first concrete moves towards protecting myself. My hands trembled slightly as I spoke to the bank representative on the phone, my voice lower than usual, opening a new account solely in my name, transferring a portion of my own savings into it. The second call, the one Sarah insisted I make immediately, felt even heavier. It was to the divorce attorney she'd recommended, a woman known for being both compassionate and sharp. I scheduled a virtual consultation for Wednesday, blocking out time during my lunch break, my heart pounding against my ribs. Later, while clearing out the bottom shelf of the bookshelf in the living room, something I'd been meaning to do for ages, trying to create some sense of order amidst the chaos in my head, my fingers brushed against a forgotten moleskin notebook tucked way in the back. David's distinctive handwriting was on the cover. It must have fallen behind the rows of books years ago. A wave of nausea hit me, a mix of dread and morbid curiosity, but I couldn't stop myself. I sank onto the floor right there, the dust motes dancing in the afternoon light, and opened it. Pages from the last few months laid his betrayal bare in his own words. He'd been orchestrating this departure for some time, writing about feeling suffocated, needing a clean break, dreaming aloud on paper about his next chapter. He mentioned a woman, Jessica, from his cycling club multiple times. Innocent mentions at first, cycled with Jess today, then laced with something more intimate, more telling. But the entry that truly stole my breath, leaving me cold, was dated just 3 weeks prior. She's talking about putting in the offer on the Maple Street house again. Feel guilty, but what's the point in starting that whole process when I'm planning my exit? Would just complicate things unnecessarily, tie us together even more. Better to keep stalling, find excuses. The casual cruelty of it, the calculated deception about something so significant to us, it knocked the wind right out of me. That night felt impossibly long, each tick of the clock amplifying the silence. When David finally came home, well after 11, carrying the faint, unfamiliar scent of floral perfume clinging to his jacket and looking just a bit too relaxed, a tremor ran through me. He seemed oblivious, humming softly as he took off his shoes. The urge to scream, to throw his duplicitous notebook right at his smiling face and shatter the calm facade, was almost overwhelming. I physically gripped the edge of the kitchen counter, imagining the scene, the shock on his face, the lies finally exposed, his carefully constructed world crumbling around him. But Sarah's voice echoed firmly in my mind. Strategic patience. Let him believe his deception was working flawlessly. Let him think I was still the trusting, oblivious wife, while I carefully, methodically dismantled his plans from the inside out. "Hey you," he said, dropping a kiss on the top of my head as he passed me on his way to the fridge, his casual touch making my skin crawl. "Long day. Anything interesting happen here while I was saving the world?" The forced lightness in his tone was jarring. I forced a smile that felt brittle, swallowing the painful lump in my throat. "Just the usual," I managed, praying my voice didn't betray the storm raging inside me. "Tired. Glad you're home. You have such a gift. This work is going to add so much value to the house." The words hung in the air, heavy with an irony I felt deep in my gut. Value, I thought bitterly, that she fully intended to pocket without giving me a second thought. "I just want to see you happy," I managed to say, the sentiment feeling like dust and regret on my tongue. "Oh, I am happy," she replied, looking straight at me, her expression perfectly smooth, betraying nothing. "So incredibly happy, especially with you." The ease of her lie sent a chill through me. I gave a short nod and forced myself to turn back to the cabinets I was installing, unable to keep looking at her without my own face revealing the turmoil inside. In that instant, a cold resolve settled over me. This renovation wouldn't just be good. It would be my finest work, a true masterpiece. And the plan forming in the back of my mind? That would be crafted with just as much precision and care. Come Tuesday morning, Catherine rushed off early, mentioning something about a crucial presentation. The moment her car was out of sight, I picked up my phone and called in sick to my own job. The entire day became a covert operation of reconnaissance and careful preparation. I moved methodically through the house, photographing every important document: birth certificates, passports, insurance papers. I located and copied our joint tax returns from the past 5 years. I documented every valuable item we owned, noting when it was purchased and its approximate current worth. Finally, I logged into all our shared accounts, meticulously checking balances and taking time-stamped screenshots. By the time Tuesday evening rolled around, I possessed a comprehensive snapshot of our entire financial landscape, and the first threads of a counter-strategy were weaving themselves together in my mind. The kitchen itself was tantalizingly close to completion. All that remained was fitting the new undermount sink and tiling the backsplash behind the stove. When Catherine arrived home, she practically drowned me in effusive compliments, immediately chattering about hosting a dinner party soon to showcase my amazing hard work. The sheer nerve of it almost made me gasp. She was already envisioning entertaining friends. Her friends, the ones she'd undoubtedly keep after I was gone. In the very kitchen, my hands were bringing to life for her. Standing there, Looking across the nearly finished space at her smiling face, the full weight of my delusion hit me. I hadn't just misjudged her. I'd completely failed to see the rot beneath the surface of our entire life together. The foundation I thought we'd built wasn't just cracked, it was utterly decayed. "Is everything all right?" she asked then, her gaze sharpening slightly on my face. "Just tired," I lied, turning away to busy myself with gathering tools. "Pushing hard to get this finished for you, you know?" She smiled, seeming to accept the explanation without question. "Well, it's definitely going to be worth all the effort. This kitchen is going to be spectacular." "Oh yeah," I agreed quietly, bending down to examine the plumbing fittings for the sink. "You really don't have a clue just how spectacular it's about to become." Later that night, as I worked on, sanding a piece of trim until it was perfectly smooth, the low murmur of her voice drifted from our bedroom. I couldn't make out the words, but the hushed, confidential tone was unmistakable. Probably Helen, I figured, or maybe Ryan, coordinating the details of their little plan. It struck me then that the specifics, who she was talking to, exactly what they were plotting, didn't really spark much feeling anymore. All that mattered now was what I was going to do next. By the time the sun rose on Wednesday morning, the basic framework of my own plan was firmly in place. I figured I needed about 5 days. 5 days to get all my pieces arranged on the board. 5 days filled with the familiar routine of renovation work. 5 days of maintaining a carefully constructed facade of normalcy, all while meticulously preparing behind the scenes. 5 days until Catherine would deeply regret every whispered word, every deceitful smile. And the beauty of it was, she wouldn't suspect a thing until it was far too late.